r/ask Reddit. What's the most bizarre thing you've encountered on a one night stand? I was bartending, being a goth themed bar in 2005. We normally had pretty much no traffic other than the regulars, so new people always kinda piqued my interest. In walks a gorgeous punk girl. I'm 22 at the time, so caution didn't exist for me. This girl and I caught one another's glances all night. At closing time, she bodily pulled me across the bar and started making out with me, so of course I went home with her. I didn't have a cell phone at the time and I left my own car at the bar. Huge mistake. For 2 days I was trapped in her apartment, handcuffed to the bed, minus supervised bathroom breaks. The sex was amazing and kinky. It was awesome the first day. I was sore and worried by the end of the second. She also made me watch the movie Made 2 times. So day 3, she has to go to work. I figured by this point she's going to kill me when she comes home. I break the crappy welds on the headboard to free myself only to find my clothes have disappeared. I had to wear her clothes. So in girl jeans that I was unable to button, a v-neck bright orange shirt, and flip-flops that are entirely too small for me, with handcuffs dangling from both wrists, I exit the apartment, and with as much dignity as I can muster, I walk down the street to the gas station and have them call me a cab. Worst best sex misadventure ever. TLDR. Kidnapped. There's a girl at my uni who is known as Bible Basher. She's ridiculously fit, 10 out of 10 and could get any guy she wanted. So she does. She brings them back to her flat then proceeds to get out her Bible, full of annotations and post-it notes, and preach the guide to sleep. Dong untouched. 10 out of 10 master troll. Not sure if this'll be seen by Menet, but I'd like to share a pretty shitty experience. I'd gone out with a few friends, promptly got wasted, and by some small miracle ended up going back to this fairly attractive girl's place. Morning after she decides to soothe my hangover with a BJ, but before proceeding she says, "You told me last night you don't really do one night stands. Prove it. What's my name?" I completely froze. I buy some time by laughing, and through sheer luck I notice a picture frame with Amelia written on it in bold colorful letters. Yeah, that was her sister's name. She died the previous summer, and I did not get that blowy. I had a friend who took a not so hot girl back after a night out. He woke up and she was rank, like, awful. So did what any other sane person would do. Told her he had soccer practice and was late. Cue him putting his entire soccer strip on and her getting up. The university wasn't far to walk where his pretend practice was, so she said she'd walk with him as she lived near it. They walked to university together. Him in his soccer kit and her in heels and a dress looking a ducking state, and then she holds his hand. They walk through the main university area holding hands. The best image I've ever had in my head. Eventually he can't take it anymore and says he needs to go to the bathroom, so she says she'll wait outside the Union building. He goes in the front door all the way throughout a fire exit, then runs home. Oh, and he gets home to find that she pissed in the bin in his bedroom in the night. For me, it was undoubtedly the time when the girl is staring into my eyes while I'm on top of her and tells me that she loves me. Several times. With passion. I had just met her that night. I didn't really know what to do, so I just kinda kept going and avoided eye contact. I have to tell my friend's story. It's too good. So in college, he meets this chick at a bar. He's a good looking guy and gets a lot of women. So when he tells me this chick is really hot, I believe him. They make out in the bar and eventually go home together. On the walk home, she tells him that she has 2 cats and talks about how much she loves them. She refers to her cats as her daughters, which freaks my friend out a bit, but not enough to dissuade him. So they get to her apartment, and it's filled with cat stuff. Pictures, porcelain cats, cat dolls, the works. This crazy chick is obsessed with cats, but my friend is horny, so whatever. He's still gonna do her and just excuse himself after. They proceed to have great sex. The chick's cats are in the room watching, which is unnerving, but whatever. Right as he's about to finish, he pulls out. The cat leaps over towards him, and he jizzes on it accidentally, all over it. Girl freaks out obviously and pushes him off. He grabs his clothes and runs out of their ass naked while she grabs the cat and throws it into the bathtub. Still screaming. TLDR. Guy comes on kitten. Shoulder done that. This will likely stay buried, but he'll give it a shot. She was a pretty unassuming looking girl. We ended up in her bed. I was fingering her, she said, in a voice that became more of a growl each time she spoke. Put another finger in. A moment later she says, put another. Almost immediately after that she grabs my face and says, put your whole ducking hand in there. I have pretty big hands. I tried my best. TL. Doctor, I fisted a stranger at her request. An odd aroma than the tip of my wiener found a forgotten tampon up near the cervix. I met a girl at a bus stop. We eventually decided to go over to my place because that's what made sense. I had never met this girl before today. I keep my place extremely clean and with a minimalist mindset. That means no decoration or anything personal anywhere. There is literally what I need and nothing else. Everything looks pretty new and modern, so it's not creepy. Anyways, she gets to my place and she comments, this looks like the place from that American Psycho guy. It kind of does. And I say, how can you have sex with women without killing them first? I would be mad if she came back with a butter dish and turkey baster with no turkey. This is close to the time I was hitting on a chick everyone thought was lesbian all night. I brought her home and she wanted to invite a friend. Jackpot, right? Number. Her friend was her dad and he had toys. I am going to go throw up now so I can forget this. I've actually encountered a micropenis. I never thought I'd ever encounter one, but I did. I think I did a good job hiding my shock because he asked me afterwards, best sex you ever had? Huh. I felt bad since I thought the guy probably has insecurity issues, so I lied. I know it's bad, but I really felt bad for the guy. Edit. Since a lot of people are asking, erect. He was about an inch or less. I kept blowing him thinking it would get bigger, but then realized he was fully erect when he wasn't erect. It really looked like a bump on balls and I nearly asked, dude, where's your penis? But then stopped myself when I realized what was going on. He did penetrated me, but I'm honestly not sure for how long since he kept slipping out. I did get slightly annoyed when he told me, I got you so wet, you're really loose. How do you have sex with someone like that? The penis in the link looks very small, almost so small that it can't penetrate the vagina. Maybe he just rubbed it against the vagina clit and got off that way? I got peed on once, intentionally. It went okay. A friend of mine, he did a one night stand, and while she was in the bathroom prepping up, he felt the urge to shit. In his drunken haze, he saw her dog standing in the corner, and he decided he could blame it on the dog. Shit ensued, and she came back. She saw the shit and asked WTF. He blamed it on the dog. She replied, she didn't have a dog. She did have a porcelain figure of a dog. Too long, didn't read. Friend took a shit and blamed it on a porcelain dog. Some say that alcohol brings out the real you. Drunk me looking to hook up. See this attractive girl, beer goggles on. Sit. Try to engage in small talk. She is really into me and we get really smashed. Then she says she has to pee. I will be right back. I just have to reinsert my urinary catheter as my vajayjay is starting to itch. Ya know, last time it itched I got a ducking UT and it smelled for days. Double quote. Beer goggles off. Went home with some guy I met in a club. Started sucking him off. He looks down at me as I had his coke in my mouth. Sighs in a creepy sing-song voice, ooh, you look like a babai. I guess there is a pretty big difference between ooh, that feels great babai, and ooh, you look like a babai. During college, ended up going home with a girl who I can describe as, well, athletic. Since rugby is a sport the last time I checked, things were going well until I was marinating my nether rod and she screams punch me in the face. Yup, she literally wanted me to beat the crap out of her. Instasoft. I managed an awkward response somewhere along the lines of, well, about time to hit the old dusty trail, and made a hasty exit. I knew a guy once who went home with a girl, and she wanted to play him the cassette recording of the eulogy from her father's funeral the year before. How do you say no to that? So while he sat there, uncomfortably listening to this, not knowing how to react or where to look, she unzips his pants and goes down on him, her dad's eulogy playing in the background. We got married. Probably more bizarre from her perspective, but here it goes. I hit it off with this girl after a night of heavy drinking and we head back to her place. She lived in a nice full service apartment building with a doorman and fully employed staff that operates around the clock. We hook up and then pass out. I wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and end up walking out the wrong door. I finally come to my senses and I realize I'm in the building hallway, ass naked. Worst of all, in my drunken sleepy stupor, I forgot which apartment I came from. Not wanting to wake up any of the neighbors, I very quietly knock on a few doors to see if she comes out. I was stuck out there for about 45 minutes before one of the maintenance guys comes up and says to me, "What the hell are you doing?" I explained my situation and he just walks away in disgust without saying another word. Luckily he came back with a trench coat and had me walk down to the front desk where I spoke with the doorman. He of course asked me where I came from and what was this woman's name, which I forgot. So there I am, in a public lobby wearing nothing but a trench coat while the guy is reading off tenants' names in that section to see if any ring a bell. Finally he hits a name that sounds familiar, so he calls her for a good 20 minutes before she answers and confirms that I was indeed with her. I waltz back up to the apartment, grab my clothes and shuffle on out of there before things got any more awkward, which I'm sure was impossible at that point. TLDR. Hooked up with girl, walked naked out of her apartment accidentally. Much public shame followed. I had part of my thumb bitten off for not remembering her name the next morning. Inserted thumb into the bad place on a whim. Left very early in the morning. Cold weather location. On Lake Ontario. Nose running. Wiped nose with back of hand one way, with brown thumb the other way. Yes, I dirty sanchezed myself. Alright, so there was this time where I was with this girl and things were going great at a bar and we ended up going back to her place for some fun times. We were about 20 seconds into it where she just stops and yells at me for coming inside of her. She pushes me off and runs to the bathroom, yelling and screaming bloody murder at me. I tried to convince her I had not came inside her since. You know, I think I would know if I had. She would not believe me and kicked me out of her house at 4 in the morning. She calls me 6 hours later asking for me to come over to pick up $50 so I could go buy plan B for her. Being the nice guy I am, even though I was pissed as duck, went and bought her some plan B. I went back to her house and she was in bed and I threw the pill on her bed and started walking out. She then asked me to lay down and cuddle with her. I looked at her and said duck. No. Then I left without ever talking to her again. Friend of mine had a one night stand. Crazy drug and alcohol fueled prelude at a party. Gets the girl back to his place, they drink and do more coke. The girl was taking pills also, but my buddy wasn't sure what kind. They end having sex multiple times at night. Friend recalls last round of sex was slightly all his doing. Wakes up the next day. She's dead. My friend is convinced she may have been dead the last time he ducked her. After a one night stand with an older woman, my friend woke up to her sitting on the bed playing the guitar and singing him a song. A friend of mine, a single male, was picked up at a bar by a young woman who was looking for a good time. She took him back to her house where they did stuff, and afterwards she just passed out. So my friend gets up and is getting ready to leave when he notices that there are gifts laying around her living room. Since this was not around the holidays, he thought it was odd, so he looked at some of them. They were wedding gifts. This girl had just gotten married. Fearing for his life at this point, he hightails it out of there but manages to get her name off of a piece of mail before he leaves. The best part is what he learned after he looked her up on FB the next day. She was a marriage counselor. A girl with 12 fingers. It wasn't that she had 12 fingers. It's where she wanted to put those 12 fingers. Brought a girl back from the bar and commenced sexy time. She requested that we move to the bathroom for rounds 2, 3. While the shower was warming up, she requested that we duck on the toilet. Sure, mid-duck the toilet shatters. Water and toilet everywhere. Thankfully neither of us got hurt cut and we finished up in the shower. Too long didn't read, brought girl back from the bar and banged on the toilet. Toilet shattered. She did offer to pay for the toilet, but I'm a gentleman and didn't let her. I'm getting dressed for work after morning sex and she proceeds to tell me she'd be a good stripper because she can completely control and open her butthole with no hands. She hops out from under the covers butt-ass naked, turns around on all fours and proceeds to show me her butthole opening skills. She was awesome. When I was younger, I went to a local bar and ended up going home with a much older woman. After about an hour of messing around, we started having sex. And during sex, she stopped me to reposition a framed picture of man on her shelf. The man looked kind of young and was dressed in a military uniform. Anyways, the whole time I'm humping her, she's just staring at this picture and literally started crying. I thought I was hurting her, so I stopped and asked if she was okay. She said yes and told me to keep going. The whole time we're having sex, she's crying and looking at the picture. The next morning, she's in the shower and I get my stuff to leave. Her sister, who lived there too, came in and started chatting with me. She asked if we had sex and how was it. I said great, but she couldn't stop looking at a picture of some guy in a military uniform. Her sister told me that that guy in the picture was her dead son. Apparently, he had just gotten killed in the line of duty. Talk about bizarre. Why the duck would she want to look at her own son while be ducked by some dude? Grosses me out even thinking about it. Got there, and her flatmates, who'd already been out with her, began talking to me when she wasn't around. Told me she was too drunk to do anything with me, then proceeded to tell me about her recent suicide attempt. They asked me to get a taxi home. I didn't want to stay, but I had no money, so I began sleeping on the floor of her room. She came back after about an hour of arguing with her flatmate, sat up and talked to me about stuff. Tried it on with me anyway. I was shocked and totally disinterested after all this hassle and just said I'm going to sleep, which she felt was perfectly acceptable and let me sleep. She ran out of her room about 10 minutes later after her phone went off and comes back half an hour after that with blood on her shirt. She sat in her ensuite talking loudly on a mobile to a friend, talking about how the flatmate she'd been arguing with was slitting her wrists in the room next to us. Biggest WTF moment in my life to date. Too long didn't read. Housemate argues with Ons before deed. Tells me about Ons' latest suicide attempt. Ends up slitting her own wrists after arguing with Ons. I met this awesome girl. We had sex twice, then fell asleep. A few hours later she climbed on top of me. So I thought, okay, here we go again number. Instead she pees all over me and falls back asleep. When I was 18, I went to a Halloween party with my friend at his uni halls. We ended up in town, where we meet another group of young people, one of which was a very nice girl. I forget her name, but she said she was 19. She didn't seem it though, more 17, which I was fine with as the legal age is 16 over here in the UK. She ended up coming back to the halls with us, all of us getting quite drunk. Blah blah blah. Skip to the end. We ended up in a spare dorm room that someone had the key to. I volunteered to sleep on the floor. She invited me into the bed. We started making out and getting hot and heavy. Soon, my penis was out and I started slipping it in. She took control of the situation, directing it. I was in for 4 seconds. She took me out, put me back in again, took me in, pulled me out. I don't know. Maybe it was uncomfortable or something. This went on for 10 minutes until she shook me off, apologized, rolled over and went to bed. To this day I don't know what the problem was. I was shit-faced, so just KO'd. I asked a couple of girls once if they knew what the reason was. They suggested I had been used as a dildo. Too long didn't read. I was once used as a dildo whilst sporting devil horns, a penciled on goatee, and a purple cape. In college I had to run to a meeting with a professor in the morning and left a one-night stand in my room. When I came back she had cleaned my entire room, folded all my clothes, and left me little notes all over the place. Not overly bizarre, but not something that I would expect from someone you've known for 8 hours. In college I had a picture of Tom Brady on my wall. Brought home a girl, have sex, etc. Wake up in the morning. She flips out. "You're a Patriots fan?" She stormed out. Apparently she was a Steelers fan and did not like the Patriots. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.